Greetings, comrades, and hello, everyone. I'm Quint866. If you see the title, you're probably wondering, hey, Quint, didn't you already do a 5-hour long video going into detail about Wild Arms Twilight Venom for every single episode of the show? Isn't this supposed to be a retrospective? Why on earth are you going back to it? Okay. Allow me to explain this simply. 1. I don't think people are going to watch 5-hour episodes in a retrospective. 2. For a retrospective, I should actively try and improve my reviews, since Wild Arms' extended edition, I'll call it, was 5 hours long, and I don't want to make every single retrospective episode that long. So, to make this more simple for the retrospective, I'm going to be making an abridged version that will serve as the format for future episodes in the retrospective. However, if by some chance you love the 5-hour long episode by episode edition, I will do those for certain episodes that get popular enough. But until then, expect much shorter videos like these in future episodes. So yes, I am making a much shorter review, which will essentially, again, serve as the basis for every future reviews template. So yes, I'm going back into Wild Arms one final time for now, to give people a abridged version of that overly bloated review. So let's waste no time, like I did in the 5-hour version, and get into the series straight away.
What do you think you're doing, kid? This isn't some kind of game.
Listen here! I'm getting sick and tired of you calling me a little kid, understand? What is up with that? Huh? I know I look young for my age, but I'm 25 years old. Don't let it fool you.
Section A, the characters. Wild Arms, when it comes to its characters, fit right with the RPG tropes when it comes to the typical party, as it should, since Wild Arms is a PlayStation 1 RPG game, and a pretty well-known one at that, alongside, Final Fantasy VII and all the other ones that are pretty popular. But Wild Arms Twilight Venom has characters that fit most of the basic archetypes when it comes to your party members in an RPG. We have Cheyenne Rainstorm, who is the quick fighter who also does decent damage at a range, with the cost of not being too good close quarters. We then have Dr. Kiel Aronnax, who is the tank of the party, who can take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage at the cost of almost no ranged attacks. We then have Mirabelle Graceland, who is the status fighter providing magic that strengthens the party and weakens the enemy at the cost of almost no damage.
What the hell? What an ugly bat!
Ah, yes, very good. Such good boys. Now then, where would I go to find the chief? Thanks! And while you're at it, I think I'd like to take the keys to the prison.
And finally, we have Lorena, or Ritorio, the sorceress who uses magic cards and is a quite literal glass cannon, but she does have some good physical capabilities to cancel out her weaker defense.
Reflect!
And we do have 2 mascots named Isaac and Jerusha, but they don't fight because they're mascots, and I still to this day can't truly pronounce the name of the race. It's like I can't remember how to pronounce it, but they more act as a guide more than anything, and more as comedic slapstick, so all is well that ends well.
You're finished talking to yourself. Isaku.
Don't call me that name!
Man, take it easy. Why shouldn't I use your pet name? My Isaku.
You know I can't resist it when you talk to me with that cute voice.
Ah, give me a break! You're such a big pushover, you haven't changed a bit!
Now, all these characters sound fine for, RPG parties. You got your quick one that, you got the quick one, the defensive one, the status one, and the powerful one. Pretty basic, and I appreciate that. How about the villains? Well, ironically, Wild Arms doesn't go for the whole Sephiroth gig, or the, what's another good example, or the Kefka gig, or the Shadow Queen gig when it comes to RPGs, how there's always a big mastermind who controls the other villains, or the other main villains. Wild Arms doesn't really do this. The main villains are actually, essentially, counterparts to all the party members, and in theory, this is great. Every villain of the, what I call the anti-party, clearly counter one of the other party members. We have Keanu, who is the king of Cheyenne's race. Obviously rivals Cheyenne because he's the king of Cheyenne's race.
Naturally, this is the result of a payback for reviving the King of Evil.
King of Evil? Are you the evil king, Keanu?
I was known by that name 10,000 years ago.
We have Zabriskie, who was a co-worker who sent Kiel to prison. So rivals Kiel.
Well, I'm glad to see you, Kiel. It's got to be 8 or 9 years since we last met.
Zabriskie. I've been looking all over for you. I was informed that you disappeared rather suddenly.
Well, I was attending to some personal circumstances at the time.
Something to do with Ruth?
It was nothing to do with you. We'll have to sit and have a little chat, just like we used to do in the old days. We could discuss arms.
We have this masked woman who rivals Mirabelle on the account that they're both not exactly human.
Pour this on the burnt body?
Yes. Then I will provide you the information you're looking for.
Why is it that you know where the book is when I couldn't manage to find it, even though I've been constantly searching for it for the last 6 months?
Let's not ask any unnecessary questions. That would definitely be the safest way for both of us. You should think only of achieving your goal. Now, I leave the matter to you.
And we have Loretta and Irving Vold Valeria, people who let their desires get the best. Loretta's desire for greed and Irving Vold Valeria's desire of beauty.
Mr. Zabriskie, do you know what the most important factor of all is? It's beauty.
Huh?
And finally, we have Lucian, this blue wolf creature that obviously rivals Isaac and Jerusha as the obvious animal or mascot.
I hope that you don't intend to break the promises we have between us. As you know, I've kept my promise. Now it's time to keep yours.
Now, all these characters are all decent in concept, but a lot of them have some very questionable moments, and even just questionable execution overall. This is specifically within Kiel Aranax, who, despite having many flaws, is my personal favorite amongst the party, though I can admit he's not the best. There's a difference between being the best and being my personal favorite. Kiel, for the big tanky dude, you'd expect, the guy has all the defense, the big dude of the party, he'd do the most fighting. Sadly, Kiel never truly gets a fight scene. Now, that's not to say he doesn't fight, but there's no real fight scenes where he really is the focus or does that much to begin with. And this can even apply to the villains as well, like Irving Vold Valeria, who is so bad. His lines, Irving Vold Valeria's lines are just...
Zabriskie, do you know what the most important factor of all is? It's beauty.
Huh?
My plan has to be beautiful from the very beginning right up to the end. And I don't want anyone to destroy it by using forceful methods. Beauty is a fragile thing, easily broken into pieces. It's not beautiful. Beautiful plan, Beauty. Beautiful, Zabriskie. My plan has to be beautiful. Beauty is a fragile thing.
No!
Refrain from raising your voice, Dr. Zabriskie. It's not a beautiful way to leave.
Enough said.
Hey, what do you mean? How do you know that? Tell me!
Come on, don't you remember? You told us yourself.
That's right. You was bragging about it last night.
What? Did I also tell you about the plan to assassinate Valeria?
You sure did. You were kind enough to go into great detail about it, too.
Yeah, that's for sure. He was giving us all kinds of details. Like he really believed he was the sniper Gol.
Yeah.
We had so much fun last night.
I know, I gotta say, you were pretty funny.
You and him were drinking like there was no tomorrow.
I had no idea you were such a sentimental old
That's
drunk.
it. I'm never drinking again.
Blinker fluid, the most normal drink of all time. Okay, with the disappointing execution of characters with good concepts, the world, surprisingly enough, is really good. I mean, like, really good. The planet of Falgaia might just be one of the most varied and, like, diverse locations I've ever seen in obscure anime. Now, of course, there are, like, better worlds I've seen, but when it comes to obscure anime, Falgaia really stands out because it covers a lot, and I'm actually surprised with the amount of variety it has. The villages in Wild Arms Twilight Venom are just about what you'd expect. You got the water village near the sea, you got the desert village with the bazaar and the tents and whatnot, you got the mountainous village, the forest village, villages that are more stone-like, and of course the capital city where everything's all big, there's the most technology, and the most amount of people and the rich. Now, when it comes down to village types, these are all pretty basic. However, I do like some of the other villages that don't quite go in the direction you'd expect, thus giving an extra added layer of charm to the village. Now, I obviously can't mention all of the different villages since, the villages are only one part of the locations, but I'll point out a few noteworthy ones. I do get a kick out of the Sandy Water Village in episode 3. It's not just sand and it's not just water, and the whole gimmick of this village is that the people try and salvage stuff in the sandy water to sell it off, thus giving them a source of income. There's also dragons in this sandy water, and that makes for an excellent threat to the people who are trying to salvage it. Now, it's obviously just your mix of a sand and water village, but it's entertaining enough and does make for a good set piece this early on. But my real favorite village easily goes to Los Gamores, the casino city, which may sound pretty cliche, but it really does work with the Western aesthetic of Wild Arms. They say it best in the episode itself. The casino city of Las Gamores feels completely different to the desert world outside, and I love this episode as a matter of fact. Now, the villages of Falgaia are obviously not the focus. They show the more mundane lifestyle, the more citizen-like people who don't go on big adventures. But I do like it that they made quite a few of them interesting, which I can't say often. In RPGs, you get the most fun when out in combat, out in the dungeons, out in the open. But the fact they made the villages interesting definitely gives it some points. So, how about all the other locations of Falgaia? Well, these are pretty good as well. The more adventurous parts of Falgaia are still pretty basic, but do throw in a few good areas, whether it be the forests, the deserts, the water areas, or yes, of course, the dungeons. They all have interesting concepts that do make them stand out, and the way these places are drawn, or even just portrayed, really do make the locations pretty darn enjoyable. I obviously can't name all of the standout adventure locations, much like I did with the villages, but I'll give quite a few since this anime has a lot of really good ideas. I'm not even kidding here. The interesting adventure locations are shown off as early as the first episode with the prison of Alcatraz. Instead of being in an island in San Francisco, it's floating in a crater with magnetic rocks. That's pretty darn creative. I also love how in episode 4, we have the library, which is not only a place for book fanatics, but is also a large database archive. 2 episodes, in fact, take place entirely on vehicles, like the steamship in episode 5 and the train in episode 6. Now, these episodes are more bottled off and not as great as the more adventurous locations, but they do make the idea interesting enough. I also love the roof lab slash base in episode 12, which is really entertaining and more technologically advanced. The hills of the Death God ninjas that dare strike anyone who trespasses in their territory, and of course, the statue marking where the goddess defeated the evil king's race leader, King Keanu. These locations are all great and very diverse, thus allowing for a lot of really good locations, and even some outright beautiful shots. I mean, when it comes down to the world of Falgaia, it's amazing. There's almost everything. There's even some space segments that are actually pretty cool. And I would argue Falgaia is one of the most diverse locations in anime I've ever seen. Unfortunately, this is held down by the story, which I'll get into right now.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out again.
Right. Do you think it's something else?
Don't worry about her, Wrinkles. Just kiss her. What's the matter, big guy? Are you chicken?
How about you giving her a kiss yourself?
Don't even think about it. Hey!
Hi, did you get any information from that old woman?
No, nothing. Kiel was afraid of her wrinkles and choked.
Hey!
Alrighty then, we're now into section C, the story slash plot, whatever. The story is a bit of a mess, not gonna lie. It does have its charm here and there. The story focuses around the main cast who, as I've explained earlier, make up your typical RPG party. The story has this weird case of not really knowing what it wants to be. Even though the main party is made up of 6 characters, the male characters and the female characters split off. The male side of the party, Cheyenne, Kiel, and Isaac, I call the adventure dudes, and you would know this if you saw my 5-hour-long review. Same thing with the female side. Jerusha, Mirabelle, and Loretta, I call the treasure gals. Adventure dudes and treasure gals, but when they're all together, I call them the party. Now, you're probably wondering why go out of the way to separate them. Well, that's because the party isn't always with each other. In fact, it's kind of a recurring gag that the party separates, but end up running into each other every episode. And most of the time, they're kind of reluctant to help each other, but they ultimately find a compromise and get the job done since they ultimately want the same thing. The episode structure is also pretty weird as well. Episodes 1 through 10 are all separated by stories that loosely connect the main plot established in earlier episodes, regarding Cheyenne's original body, since Cheyenne is a 25-year-old in the body of an 11-year-old and he wants to get his original body back. This also hints toward his village, which was destroyed in a natural disaster called Twilight Venom. So essentially, episodes 1 through 10 are all filler. Now, this sounds bad, since this means nearly half of the series is filler due to the series running for only a mere 22 episodes, and even then, there are a few filler episodes that come in during the second half, making a lot of the anime feel like a drag at times, because you just want the main plot to kick in. And while it does kick up and you feel hyped as they've been building it up pretty subtly and also not so subtly throughout the filler episodes, the finale ends up being more disappointing than the filler episodes, ironically enough, due to the fact that while yes, there are more antagonists and the stakes are higher, it does so many things wrong that the filler episodes end up being more enjoyable, ironically. There are good moments in the main story, and that's what I think was the ultimate problem with the second half being the more story-driven half. Because you had all these expectations with the filler episodes building this up that it'd be better, but the story doesn't quite do things that it should have done. Now, I'm going to go into spoiler territory, so if you don't want the story spoiled, skip to the next section, or honestly, just stop watching, because I'm probably going to be spoiling this series and its entirety. Not that it's a surprise, though. The series is pretty forgotten. After the zany antics of episodes 1 through 10's filler plots with loose connections, Shine has a dream at the start of episode 11, with some woman that claims she loves him, in addition to seeing his original body. As episode 11 further progresses, Shine and Kiel finally make it to what remains of Shine's original village, and there are a few people left despite the wreckage left by Twilight Venom. He meets Sergio, a pub man who he had frequented when he was in his 25-year-old body. However, Sergio doesn't recognize him, even when he shows Sergio the arms. Cheyenne then meets Lila, a beautiful woman, and as you can probably see, she shares the exact same appearance as the woman in Cheyenne's dream. And of course, given Cheyenne's character, he simps over Lila, and it's pretty cringy. Cheyenne gets to know Lila and why she seems so sad over the loss of her dead boyfriend. It is revealed that Lila had to kill him. Before this can go anywhere, though, some agents from the evil research company Roof appear in Lila's residence and kidnap her. Now, it is pretty stupid how the big super secret villain organization is called Roof, but whatever. It is then revealed that Lila is the reincarnation of the goddess Lyra. Cheyenne, playing the hero, feels the need to save Goddess Lila from being experimented on by the agents of Roof. With help from all the party members on both the Adventure Dudes and Treasure Gal side, they all infiltrate the Roof base out in the middle of the water. Kiel runs into one of his former co-workers, Dr. Zabriskie. Remember, Dr. Kiel Arnax is a scientist, so it's obvious they would explain his doctor origin somewhere. I mean, he doesn't look like a doctor, he's a big beefy dude with an eye guard and a blade shield, but I guess looks can be deceiving. Zabriskie reveals that it was he who sent Kiel to Alcatraz, but surprisingly does not want to harm Kiel and instead gives him the third piece of Cheyenne's arms, telling him Cheyenne would need it soon. Cheyenne attempts to escape with Lila from Roof, and thanks to Kiel giving him the third arms piece that Zabriskie gave him, Cheyenne is able to fend off the Roof soldiers, blowing a big hole in the base, in addition to buying enough time for him and Lila to jump to safety out into the water. However, despite Cheyenne using all three of the arms fused together to cause a big blast, that doesn't stop tragedy from striking. Lila's death is a pivotal moment for Cheyenne's character, but the party ultimately save him before he can drown trying to save Lila, who is already long from being saved. A few episodes later, the Adventure Dudes come across another escapee from Roof named Sybil, claiming she knows where Cheyenne's body is, and will tell them if they escort her to safety. However, Sybil has arms, as revealed by this scene here, and she also acts very strangely, as her memories are constantly clashing with her more soft and humanoid persona, switching over to a more elegant and mysterious persona that claims to be an angel. Meanwhile, with the Treasure Gals, they meet a character who actually does appear in the Wild Arms games, that being Judecca Dantes. They find him in his residence after he is injured on the floor when Loretta went to trade crest cards with him. Judecca bargains with Loretta and the rest of the Treasure Gals that he will give them any card if they find Sybil and take the card back from her, as well as killing her, considering Sybil had stole one of his cards, and she can't be left alive, as information regarding this card is too powerful and needs to be kept under wraps. Loretta is slightly suspicious of Judecca being very pressy on killing Sybil, when he could just take the card back with no questions asked, but she buys into it for the time being. Back with the Adventure Dudes, they're under fire from two insane thugs, and oddly enough, unlike the other villains, they actually have arms and can actually use them. Pedro, the one with the giant rocket launcher arm, Cheyenne manages to defeat. However, the other thug, Jet, comes over to the party and claims vengeance for his fallen comrade Pedro, using a giant Gatling gun arms. However, Jet falls over, weakened, and dies from using too much vitality factor in his arms, and it's revealed that people with not enough vitality factor will die when shooting arms. It's dependent on the model, but Shine wonders if Sybil were to fire her arms, would she die? However, this is interrupted as the Adventure Dudes run into the Treasure Gals who attack Sybil, but Cheyenne pleads Loretta to not kill her, as she is the closest lead to finding his body yet. Loretta demands Sybil return the car, and even offers to spare her. But Judecca appears, telling Loretta it's no use reasoning with her, as her memories have been tampered with, thus apparent by her personality shift from her human persona and her angel persona. Loretta, however, faked being on Judecca's side and turns the tables, revealing she knew Judecca was evil all along. Judecca Dantes isn't done yet. He then draws his weapon, which is arms as well. Sybil begs Judecca Dantes to not use the arms, as Pedro and Jet had both suffered from using the arms. However, Judecca then reveals that he, Sybil, Pedro, and Jet are all failed experiments of Ruth that had fake memories programmed into them, and they were let back out into the public in hopes they would forget. However, these programmed memories malfunctioned, making Pedro and Jet go insane, making Judecca want to kill everyone in addition to not remembering his past, and making Sybil think she's an angel. Judecca Dantes had broken free from these programmed memories, but he has a vengeance dwelling within him. He wants to kill everything that was related to Ruth. He wants to kill Sybil, Dr. Zabriskie, all of the people at Ruth, and of course Cheyenne. However, Cheyenne won't allow Judecca Dantes to let his vengeance go that far, so the two face off. So, Judecca flips a coin and a fierce standoff engages, with both arm users, Cheyenne and Judecca, ready to fire. As the coin lands on the ground, they both fire, but hit each other. They're both still alive, but Judecca manages to fight through the pain and tries to point his arms at Cheyenne once more. As Judecca approaches the weakened Cheyenne, Sybil runs to his defense. Sybil looks into the emblem of her arms and has to make a tough choice. She knows she was human, but her body had been modified to use arms, and her memories are all fake. So, accepting her fate, she points her arms and shoots Judecca, draining her vitality factor and also getting hit by Judecca in the process. Judecca dies, but unfortunately, Sybil does as well. However, before Sybil dies, she does reveal the location of Cheyenne's body, as it's in the capital city and Ruth has a very close relationship with the government. The group buries Sybil and start heading to the capital, where the election is being held. Sybil's death left an impact on the whole party, though she did manage to give Cheyenne the information he wanted before she died, so her death was not in vain. After episode 15, where Sybil dies, we then cut to the capital city with our group of main antagonists. The candidate, Irving Vold Valeria, has a plan to ensure he becomes commander, with the help of Dr. Zabriskie and Ruth. We see Irving Vold Valeria's many cringe lines, and see how Dr. Zabriskie and Valeria aren't quite on the best terms. Even so, Zabriskie and Valeria talk about their experiments with bodies and arms, giving us more exposition to what's going on. Meanwhile, the scene then cuts to a vat chamber, with Cheyenne's original body in it. We then see the masked woman, who was shown back in episode 4 pulling the strings, finally return. And I'm grateful because the masked woman is actually a pretty good character, all things considered. The masked woman suits up, as this blue wolf creature, Luciad, follows her. Keep note of that. The masked woman looks at the body of Cheyenne and calls it Keanu, the king of the evil race. Now, to quickly go off topic here, I was pretty hype at this point. The masked woman appeared in episode 4, and I was genuinely wondering if they were ever going to cover who she was. So I am glad she came back. I do like the scenes with the masked woman, as she really is the best of the villains. So she's shooting down these creatures that are actually the same race as Isaac and Jerusha, and the entirety of the roof crew is looking at her almost in awe, almost idolizing her marksmanship. Luciad is watching too, keep note of that. Meanwhile, Dr. Zabriskie and his assistant go up to one of the bodies and tries to get it to fire arms. However, much like Pedro and Jet, it suffers from the effect of using too much vitality factor. So far, Cheyenne, Judeka, and the Masked Woman are the only people that can seem to fire arms. Meanwhile, back with the Masked Woman, she suddenly drops her arms, having a mental breakdown. Much like Sybil, Judeka, Pedro, and Jet, her memories are all muddled, causing her to switch personas. She then takes off the mask, revealing the Masked Woman is Lila. Now, this would have been a good twist, but sadly they revealed her hair earlier in the episode, thus giving it away way too early. However, this version of Lila actually has the goddess's power. The Lila back in episodes 11 and 12 was a mere clone, much like the bodies Zabriskie tested earlier in the episode. This is the original Lila, who has the goddess's powers, and the memories of the goddess are programmed into her, though she switches over to a more humanoid persona. The entirety of the roof personnel worship her as they think she really is the goddess. However, Lila demonstrates her powers by, I'm not kidding here, mind controlling one of the guards, thus showing she has her supernatural abilities. She then goes to her signature weapon, which is her own version of the arms. Now, when I saw this, I was like, damn, this is gonna be awesome, because with Lila being revealed as the only other arms user other than, obviously, Shine himself, I figured that Lila was gonna be the big final fight. And rightfully so, as I said before, we don't have a lot of other characters that can use arms. They give Lila this evil impression, they make her the Masked One that was pulling the strings back in episode 4, and now she has a weapon. It's the perfect setup, and plus, you know, in RPGs, they go and fight big, powerful creatures, whether it be gods or monsters at the end, so of course I'd expect Lila to be the final boss. Then, one filler episode later, the very last filler episode, that actually is a good filler episode, not gonna lie, happens, where Cheyenne suffers a basic amnesia plot, he loses memories but gets it back, and then finally, the finale episodes can resume. Now we finally get to episode 18, The Days of the Bacchus, which is one of my personal favorite episodes in the entire series. The crew are just about to get into the capital city with the coach, when Cheyenne sees Lila running away from some roof soldiers. This basically confirms that this is the real Lila, the one in episodes 11 and 12 was a fake. Cheyenne, with the help of an old man that was at the bus stop, manages to snipe down the bridge and save Lila from her pursuers. This old man, who is a really good character by the way, go to find Cheyenne and Lila passed out near a statue that marks where the king of the evil race, Keanu, was defeated by goddess Lila. The old man takes the passed out Lila to his place and revegetates, giving them a place to stay while the coach comes in the next 3 days. Cheyenne watches Lila sleep and hopes her to wake up. Meanwhile, Kiel and Isaac listen to the old man ramble on as he gets drunk, claiming he's the legendary sniper Golgol 30. Isaac laughs this off, thinking it's just the old man being really drunk. However, Kiel thinks there might be more to this. Cheyenne then wakes up the next day to see Lila is up and at him, but he then hugs Lila. But then she asks Cheyenne, who is Lila? It turns out this woman claims her name is Gina Angel. Cheyenne thinks there might be more to Gina since she shares the exact same appearance as Lila, and she was being chased by Ruth, the same people who killed Lila in episode 11 and 12. Cheyenne talks to Gina Angel a little bit more, trying to figure out any connections between her and Lila. Gina then passes out from memories clashing within her, and the episode resumes. Cheyenne helps Gina back to the place where Golgol is, and the woman that Golgol is letting him stay with, her name is Olivia by the way, reveals that she knows Golgol has romantic feelings for her. Golgol 30, the old man with the sniper, gets drunk again and further reveals his plot to assassinate Commander Valerian. Kiel, thinking two coincidences can't be a pattern, is unsettled by this and thinks that the old man truly is the legendary sniper Golgol 30. The next morning, Kiel is gone, and Shine and Isaac wonder where he went. Isaac hypothesizes Kyo went to check on the coach schedule. However, as the day comes closer and closer to noon, Gina escapes, and Olivia asks Cheyenne if he can find her. So, Cheyenne gets lost and tries to find her until he thinks to look towards the statue. And this is where one of the most pivotal scenes, and literally my favorite scene in the entire anime, happens. I'm just gonna play it here. Oh, okay. For those who saw my 5-hour-long review, you're probably thinking, oh, this again? Well, I actually have some good news. If you saw the 5-hour-long review, you'd probably know that I mentioned the video files I found. Some of them weren't great. A few episodes get cut off midway, and a few episodes even have the audio completely out of sync. And it's not great. Now, I personally have the DVD, so I've seen all of these episodes in their correct format. But for the sake of my 5-hour-long review, I showed the Japanese subbed version because I couldn't find the full episode 18 in English dub. And I did find one. Unfortunately, the audio is out of sync, much like the other files, but you know what? It's better than nothing at all. So, without a doubt, this is my favorite scene right here.
I wonder where she went to now. Huh? Oh no! She might be there! Gina, hey! Gina, I was so worried. I thought you might have...
I came here to take you back. Can you hear me, Goddess?
Goddess?
Here, please take this.
So we meet again. How nice.
Gina! Wait! What does he mean by goddess?
On the hilltop of Golgotha. Yes, this is the perfect place for the goddess to be revived again.
Huh?
Your Highness, now is the time for you to reawaken. Lift the clouds of confusion from your mind and return to us, goddess. Please feel free to try it. The target is King Keanu, king of the evil race. That's very good. Shoot, Goddess Lila.
Goddess Lila?
Shoot the evil King Keanu.
I'm going back to Roof now. Because after all, I am the leader of Roof.
It can't be. It's a lie!
This was the scene that really got me invested with the series. At this point, Gina Angel has completely given in to the memories of the goddess, convincing her she is the goddess Lila. She dons the mask and takes the gun that they've been building up this entire time and shoots away the side of the statue that symbolizes the evil race King Keanu. And Shine can do nothing but look in horror as the harsh truth is revealed to him, with Sabrisky and the Roof Soldiers taking Gina Angel, who now thinks she's the goddess Lila, away. This was an excellent setup, and I really do love this scene. And what's even better is that episode 18 has a really good action sequence. The gunfight, where Golgol, the legendary sniper, and Keel team up to take down the roof soldiers storming the house, is, without a doubt, one of my favorite fights, in addition to being in one of my favorite episodes. This is also the closest we ever got to a fight scene where Keel was the focus. However, I argue Golgol 30 was the focus since 1, this is the only episode he appears in, and Golgol's entire relationship with Olivia was essentially the basis for his character arc. Because by the end of this episode, and I'm sad to say it, Golgol unfortunately dies. And it really was sad too, since I really liked Golgol 30 as a character. Thankfully, Keel stops the roof soldiers before they can kill Olivia. But Golgol, damn, I felt so sorry for the old man by the end of this. But the fact that Keel saved Olivia, and the fact that Olivia, when she buries Golgol, uses his sniper rifles in a cross-like pattern, really did move me. So with all that said out of the way, we have episode 18 that really does nail the build-up for the climax extraordinarily. Finally, during episodes 19 and 20, Keel pretends to betray the party in order to get Zabriskie out of Roof, thus allowing Valeria to actually hire him instead of Zabriskie. Now with Keel having all the knowledge of Zabriskie's research, he manages to meet the fake King Keanu in Cheyenne's body, in addition to giving Keanu the 2 arms that Cheyenne didn't have, but he let Cheyenne keep the first out of sympathy since he didn't want Cheyenne to hate him. It's clear that Keel's betrayal meant a lot to the party since Keel kind of acted as a father figure for Cheyenne. But that's regardless of the circumstance, since we know Keel's gonna come back at some point. Keanu decides he's going to kill Zabriskie and Cheyenne, since they are the only 2 things that could potentially screw him over by putting Cheyenne back in his original body. Meanwhile, Lila and Luched talk more, with Luched revealing its deal with Lila, and how even Lila doesn't want to screw with Luched, even with her goddess power at her hands. Luched, of course, is pulling the strings, trying to get something out of Lila, and it goes without saying, things aren't exactly gonna end well. Also, Valeria was using Lila as a means to increase his political influence in order to get elected. Valeria was going to use Goddess Lila in the election by having her appear on the stand, then having someone he hired assassinate her, then Valeria himself killing his own assassin, so he could be viewed as a hero that saved the world, or, well, essentially killed the person that killed the goddess. And Valeria's plan goes fine at first, with everyone believing Lila's the goddess when she causes a solar eclipse to happen. However, they turn to her for leadership since, with a goddess, who needs a commander? Valeria tries to snipe Lila. Luched blocks the bullets being used on Lila by Valeria's assassin. However, Valeria, with some quick thinking, manages to pin the blame on Cheyenne, as now everyone's after him, thinking he was the assassin. However, Cheyenne sees his body being used by the evil King Keanu. Cheyenne then goes to fight Keanu and get his body back. Meanwhile, Valeria has to put up now with being essentially another pawn in Goddess Lila's leadership, in quotation marks. This then leads to an epic showdown, where Cheyenne and Keanu fight, both arms users, with Keanu having Cheyenne's other 2 arms, giving him more power, but Cheyenne holding the card of mobility. Zabriskie tries to convince Keanu to stop, as he's not the true King of Evil, and he only programmed fake memories that were like the King of Evil, in order to expose the truth about what's been going on in the planet of Falgaia. However, Keanu is so stubborn, truly believes he is the Evil King, even though his memories are fake, that he kills Zabriskie, and then points his gun to Cheyenne, to try and stop anyone from taking the body that he believes is rightfully his. The final fight is really good, all things considered, and I do enjoy it. But there is a problem I have with it, and I'll get to that as we get to the next episode. The fight with Keanu and Cheyenne is definitely what the other action scene should have been. We see both sides of the fight are evenly matched, unlike the other fights which were either lopsided or just not that interesting, and this fight goes on for a decent long while, which again the other fight should have, since many of them were way too short. I also like how in this fight, Cheyenne can't just use his usual tactics, since if he shoots Keanu, then he'll damage his body beyond all repair, and Cheyenne is not the type to throw away his chance of getting his body back after coming so far. Cheyenne really uses interesting tactics, like throwing shells to bait fire, and putting his hat and cloak on an oil drum to allow the fight to extend longer, giving him more space on Keanu. Jerusha, who had been shot in an earlier encounter, is being brought with Isaac, Loretta, and Mirabel to the forest of their home so Jerusha can be revived. However, her soul might get possessed by another spirit, but there is a chance she may survive with her personality intact. So, Isaac brings Jerusha to the altar where she can be revived. And as she awakens, a spirit speaks through Jerusha's body. This spirit claims to be the living leader of the planet of Falgaia. Kiel, however, is going through Zabrisky's research notes, and it's revealed that everything that has been going on, the evil race, the goddess, even Twilight Venom, was all a fabricated story regarding the Space Federation army of Earth trying to colonize on the planet of Falgaia. And all the people on Falgaia are mutants that look a lot like humans. So characters like Kiel, Loretta, Mirabel, and all the other characters we thought that weren't human were actually the mutants, while Cheyenne, since he was human, Keanu, since he was human, Lila, since she was human, are the actual arm users. It was a pretty good twist to see that all of the humans were actually the arms users and the mutants were actually the people we thought were humans. That's a good twist. However, this Space Federation twist comes out of nowhere, and to be fair, yes, there are other stories that do the government hid the secret. I mean, Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright did that, and it worked there. The problem here was that, well, Wild Arms wasn't exactly built around this twist of the whole thing being a government secret to cover up a Space Federation army, and Twilight Venom was not actually a natural disaster, but rather a super secret weapon on the planet of Earth that was used by the commander and the general, Lila and Keanu. So Lila and Keanu weren't even gods or goddesses or kings. Lila was the commander and Keanu was the general. However, Lila, in the body of Gina Angel, had gone into hypersleep after Keanu had died to protect Falgaia, which is the spirit possessing Jerusha itself right now. However, Lila was jealous that she wasn't able to bring Keanu to her side, so she put her body into hypersleep, where she could awaken years later and revive Keanu through Cheyenne's body and mind, since Cheyenne is the reincarnation of Keanu, and Lila is the reincarnation of Lyra. However, Lila, when she went into hypersleep, had lost her memories, thus creating Gina Angel, but she had prepared for this by uploading her memories into Rufe's database, thus allowing her to control the body of Gina Angel through the personality shift. Cheyenne and Keanu get really close, with Cheyenne getting the upper hand, but still can't kill Keanu. Keanu, using this moment, does not hesitate to strike, and gets back at Cheyenne, getting the upper hand. However, Lila interrupts the fight, demanding Keanu stop, and let Cheyenne go back into his body. But Keanu is so stubborn that he knows he is the evil king, even though he's not, because Zabrisky's personality was way too true to the evil king, that the evil king, despite being fake, knows he can't do anything. So, the evil king, deciding he wants to prove he'll retain the true king's memories, commits suicide by pointing his own arms at himself, killing him, and destroying Cheyenne's body beyond all repair. Cheyenne and Lila try to stop him, but the body is destroyed and there's nothing they can do about it. This causes Lila to have a mental psychosis, as her goddess memories and human memories clash even harder than before. Now, when I got to this point, I was actually pretty excited. The fight with Cheyenne and Keanu was good, but it did leave a little bit to be desired. However, the anime misses a really big chance to make Lila the big threatening final boss she should have been. Now, Keanu was a good fight, but really, I was disappointed by the final episode not really having a big final fight with Lila, which is an absolute atrocity since they built up Lila this entire time, from episode 4, being the masked woman, the clone dying in episode 11 and 12, her having this big honking gun they revealed in episode 16, her finally giving into her goddess memories in the impactful statue scene in episode 18, her taking Valeria's leadership right out from under in episodes 20 and 19, and now, during the final 2 episodes, she's not the final boss? I mean, how do you do that? Keanu, it's what the video game should have been. There's 2 phases of the final boss. Keanu would be the first phase, Lila would be the second. But they didn't do that, and it's such a letdown. Instead, it's revealed that Gina Angel had finally broken free from Lila's control because the real mind of Lila was in a vat inside of the roof base back in episodes 11 and 12, and it was controlling the body from a distance of Gina Angel. Valeria, now with his arms, tries to kill Lila for ridiculing him in front of his crowd, but Luciad, now finding that Lila will not desire anything ever again, decides it will destroy Falgaia by transporting itself to the ruins of Earth and using the base on Earth to cause another Twilight Venom and destroy the planet of Falgaia. However, Cheyenne tries to convince the true Lila to stop, but she simply won't. However, Cheyenne finally manages to put the true Lila at ease by telling her he might be the reincarnation of Keanu, but he isn't Keanu, and he's grown too attached to the people he's with. This finally causes Lila's spirit to finally be at rest, freeing Gina Angel for good, and also making Luciad finally go to Earth to cause Twilight Venom to happen again. However, as these shots from Twilight Venom fire from Earth above, Cheyenne is given all 3 of his arms fused together by Keel, and Keel reveals that all 3 arms can be used as a weapon to finally destroy the base on Earth, thus preventing Twilight Venom, but Cheyenne would be using a ton of vitality factor in doing so. Cheyenne, however, has his resolve stronger than ever. His original body is gone for good, and there's nothing he can do about it. However, he has everyone he wants to protect here. Luciad transports away. We don't truly know where Luciad went, but it is heavily implied Luciad went to Earth to activate Twilight Venom on the base so he can destroy Falgaia. But we don't truly know if that's what happens, since, I mean, Luciad does this whole, as long as desire exists, I too will exist. But, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a letdown, because we don't see Luciad get put in its place. But, back to Cheyenne. Using all 3 arms and the help of Kiel, he uses all 3 arms to shoot a giant hole in Earth and destroy the base, and supposedly a Luciad along with it. But, I mean, this ending ends on a happy note. I mean, Cheyenne obviously dies by the end, because even he can't use all 3 arms at once, since much like every other arms user, at some point, too much vitality factor being drained into it will kill them. And I do like how they're all trying to root for Cheyenne, and Keel here, more than ever, shows this father-like figure to Cheyenne, and Gina, now that she's finally free from Lila's influence, hopes that Cheyenne will make it out alive, since she does remember the memories that she shared with him in episode 18. But, honestly, despite this ending being really climactic and honestly looking kind of cool, it's a very, very big disappointment. Cheyenne burns up from using all 3 arms and saves the day, causing a hole to go in Earth, but it does destroy all the projectiles and the base alongside the system that caused Twilight Venom. Kiel, Isaac, Jerusha, Mirabelle, and Loretta all go to a wedding, but Jerusha doesn't attend, thus infuriating Isaac. And after that, a post-credits scene reveals Gina, an older Gina, apparently by her hairstyle and more wrinkled eyes, waiting at her house as somebody approaches in the distance. Gina looks out to this person and recognizes him. This is, of course, because who else would it be, Cheyenne Rainstorm. And it's not really explained how Cheyenne lived. Now, to be fair, I did find out that during the scene where Cheyenne fuses all three arms together, he does have an angel appear over his body, and the angel is the same silhouette as the one Sybil hallucinated in episode 15. But where did he get the new body from? And this is the absolute biggest problem with Wild Arms Twilight Venom. You see, the story, at first, started out simple. Person is in body that doesn't belong to them, they want to get it back. It started out very simple, and it was easy to grasp. Now, all of a sudden, it's about all this fake lies and the government controlling the public knowledge, Lila and Keanu being Space Commander stuff. I don't think Wild Arms was built around this. I mean, sure, there was tech mixed in here and there in the earlier episodes, but that didn't need to be the focus. They didn't need to make the tech the theme, because it was all Western themed for the most part. Now, of course, Cheyenne's gun is revealed as early as episode 1, but they could have just used the space stuff as the explanation for the technology. It didn't need to be the entire focus of the climax, and Wild Arms really doesn't blend well with it. And as good of a world Falgaia is, this story was not for it. Falgaia deserved a much better story. Furthermore, the ending episodes are confusing as all hell. I've said it a lot in my 5-hour-long review. This story completely lost me at the end, and I had to rewatch this like 3 times to actually get a vague idea of what was going on. And even still to this day, I know it better now, but I don't truly understand it or think I understand it because there's so many little things that don't make sense. And ultimately, I liked a lot of the episodes in Wild Arms, but there's also a lot of trash episodes. That's another thing. The pacing was not great. The first 10 episodes being filler is okay, and the second half being the story. The problem is the first 10 episodes do have story bits sprinkled here and there, so you don't know if it's okay to skip an episode that might look bad, but actually has some important detail. And then in the second half, where it's supposed to be more story, there are a few filler episodes that throw off the rhythm, making you think, well, the story's supposed to be kicking off. Why are we throwing in more filler episodes in the second half? It just makes no sense. And I really can't emphasize enough. The pacing was not great. And my absolute biggest complaint was the final battle. They built up Lila this entire time as the masked woman, pulling the strings in episode 4, getting the clone killed in episode 11 and 12. She's revealed to be the goddess in episode 16, the masked woman. They gave her this big honking gun, yet she never fights with it. Okay, yeah, sure. She shot the statue in episode 18, but you can't just build up Lila as a threat and a villain and give her this huge weapon and not have her fight with it. It's just such a letdown, and really, I ranted more about it in my 5-hour-long review, but that was my biggest problem, was that, okay, I'm not denying it. Keanu's fight was amazing, but you can't just have Lila not use all this evil buildup preparing us for a battle that we never got. I mean, this is like in Hunter x Hunter, where they had this buildup for Chrollo and Hisoka fighting. Now, yes, to be fair, in the manga, we did see them fight. But in the anime, they never actually fought. So, what the heck? I mean, I can guarantee you there'll be a ton of people out there that want to see the Hisoka and Chrollo fight animated. Yet, we probably won't get it. However, at the end of the day, I'm just rambling. So, without further ado, let's get to the conclusion.
Idiot! You have to be more careful when you're dealing with books.
What do you think's more important anyway, people or books, old man?
Books.
All in all, Wild Arms Twilight Venom is a really hard anime for me to recommend. It has a lot to like, but almost the same amount to hate. And that's the problem, is I don't really know if I like this anime. There's stuff I enjoy, but tons of stuff that I'm just like, I could be watching so many other things with. And that's my ultimate problem, is with Wild Arms, it's hard to recommend. There is stuff to like, but again, there's way too many nooks and crannies that really make it not that enjoyable. Which is why, overall, I give Wild Arms Twilight Venom a 5 out of 10. It's okay, but don't expect anything more. Anyways, I'm Quint866. Have a good one.